So we did our paper on erotomania.
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 By definition,
It's typically a symptom
is a symptom of a
delusion disorder. Typically somebody that has schizophrenia or bipolar disorder.
Causes augmentations in someone's mind that may trick them into believing
That someone is in love with you.
the person has fallen in love with them.
Is in love with them.
That someone is in love with you.
So it can be
A public figure,
family members,
Somebody that you would admire.
friends.
a celebrity,
That celebrities
A celebrity.
Mostly it's celebrities.
The person that is inflicted by these symptoms of erotomania experiences suicidal thoughts. They're extremely depressed. Their self-esteem is extremely low. To some degree, they are aware of what is happening.
A lot of people that do have this oftentimes will either hurt themselves or hurt others if the delusion is too bad to where they can't tell the point of reality or not.
So most people that suffer from this are depressed and they have like a awkward social life. So most of them don't really have like a lot of friends and they hang out by themselves. Oh, and also low self-esteem.
This can lead to pretty erratic, intense behavior, them stalking the individual, showing up, at their house, taking things from them, just general harassment, just because they truly believe that this person is in love with them, or they may be in a relationship with them. It can go as far as that.
And they also use this system to try to like measure how bad it is from like a certain scale. It's called the BDI system. That stands for Beck Despair Inventory. So basically it's like a rating, like to see like on a scale, like how bad it is. And there's a lot of doctors that feel like responsible for their delusion just because of the misperception they had on it. And that also leads to the misdiagnosis.
it is very hard to diagnose because only about 1 in 500 people have it. And for someone to diagnose it, you would have to visit a professional. You have to do that on your own militia. No one really takes someone with erotomania to the doctor. It's very rare to find. Doctors can hardly diagnose it because it's so rare. Physicians' entire practice, they may never see someone with erotomania. It's thought to be that erotomania is generally a genetic disorder. With social media being so big in today's society, it does play a big role in erotomania because it makes it more accessible and feasible for these delusions to occur. One of the criteria for the delusion is that it has to be possible. For the delusion to actually be a delusion, it has to be likely. No matter how unlikely it may seem, it has to be possible. And some things that might allude to that would be like a celebrity winking at the camera and you think they're winking at you. Speaking of the criteria, some other criteria are: delusion must only apply to the relevant issue, with all other aspects of the affected person's life being functional and normal. Third point, if low moods or manic episodes are also present, then the duration of the delusion period must be longer than the mood or manic episode. So that's basically saying, like, if I'm having a bad mood or crazy episode or something like that, it doesn't even have to be a bad mood. And in that mood, I believe that Justin Timberlake is crazy about me. Well, then I have to believe that Justin Timberlake is crazy about me, even beyond that episode or mood. Schizophrenia, mood disorders, and intoxication must all be excluded. If you're schizophrenic, you're intoxicated, anything like that, it cannot influence this. It has to be present without those influences.
So they try to help them with medication, and they also do interventions. With that, they try to help them with their self-esteem and boost their self-esteem, and also try to get them out of the depression. They also try to think of like where the delusion started. So they see if they can like pinpoint where it started from. So they're just like, oh, okay, well, we know that this caused them to think that someone was in love with them, so we're gonna try to like avoid it, or we're gonna try to help them go through it. You know, try to change their mind and try to help them know like, okay, like this person's really not in love with you.
It's very hard to treat because, I mean, first off, you have to get diagnosed for it, and most doctors never really even see this, so they wouldn't know how to diagnose it, or they've misdiagnosed it. But some medicine can't be taken. Biggest thing is just therapy, and they need to understand that this isn't actually happening.
Erotomania history. It was traced back all the way to the years of 1545 through 1611, and one of the first psychologists to study it was Bartholomew Paradox. However, it is just now breaking the scene and just now developing more information about it. Some vocabulary related to erotomania. The English word delude originates from Latin and suggests playing or taunting. The German word wahn means false feelings, and the French word délire, which is just much more sensitive, and it's basically amplifies both those words. What delusion really is. Back then, if you were considered delusional, you were actually like diagnosed as like crazy, like you were actually insane. And it's not as simple as believing in one simple thing, or like thinking that you're delusional about one just thing. There's two sides to delusion, and it's even argued amongst peer psychologists, and some could be severe and some could be as simple, depending on your diagnosis. Some more history about it. With more research, psychologists came together and named it Declarable disorder, and that's what it was called way back then for a really long time. And today it's perceived in the Indicative and Measurable Manual of Mental Issue, also known as the DM-5. And it can also be found in other mental disorders, such as schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. And Freud proposed it's a mental guard put up by people. Actually, he proposed it's a mental guard put up by people for homosexual feelings. And others thought it was a safeguard for fear of rejection of love, because when you're delusional about when you're in love with somebody, the other person doesn't even know, so you can't be rejected. Men and women affected. Research suggests that it is more common in women than it is in men, and in the man involved with the woman is usually of higher status, and he's usually older and much more respected. And erotomania in men usually would happen in the earlier stages in life. However, the men are likely to be more jealous and would act out more, probably because they're just younger.
One of the most famous and recent examples of erotomania would be by the woman of Margaret Mary Ray. Her siblings also had symptoms of schizophrenia and bipolar disorder along with her parents. Two of her brothers committed suicide, as well as Margaret Mary Ray herself. During the late 80s and early 90s, she stalked David Letterman. She showed up at his house. She broke into his home. She would leave things behind. She was found sleeping on his tennis court, like drinking. The most famous thing that happened with her was she stole his Porsche and drove it around with her 3-year-old son in the passenger seat. And the way that she was caught, and one of the ways that she displayed her erotomania, was she was stopped at a toll on a bridge or something, and she refused to pay the $3 toll because she was David Letterman's wife, and this was their child, her 3-year-old son. So she spent a lot of time in mental hospitals, in jail. It was a hard life. Through the research we've done on the paper, is that this behavior, though it's very easy and in the past was mocked pretty regularly, typically women are portrayed or seen as the victims of erotomania. So it can be easy to make fun of a woman that's behaving so aggressively, but in fact she is someone who is very mentally ill. So that concludes our presentation on erotomania. Hopefully you are as informed as we became after writing this paper. Thank you so much for watching.
Thank you.
So, yeah.